I would like to talk about the Grey Knight specifically. I'm going to go into their codex and go into their special rules and the pros and cons of those rules, the psychic powers, again pros and cons, and their units and armory. I'm not going to touch on the Inquisitors. I might get into the Assassins, but I will put all that, the entire codex, in a review by itself, most likely in a different video. I'm going to start with their special rules. For one, they're fearless. Having a fearless unit is always nice, because, at least for me, I have a thought process I have to go through. Okay, I'm going to do this, and then they're going to react or whatever, and I anticipate that. Having a fearless unit, you don't get affected by pinning, you don't get affected by morale checks, and it's also free. You pay the ridiculous amount of points that you pay for these models, and they're fearless. That helps. There's one big downside though, and that is the special little rule called no retreat. The no retreat rule is a downside because you just finished combat, you survived combat, and now you gotta take more wounds. Anytime that you have to roll dice against yourself, it's bad. After playing this army, you learn that 1s and 2s are lethal at 25 points a model, just for power armor and no extra equipment. That's a big loss. Moving on to the deep strike rule. Personally, I don't use it at all. I like to have my entire army visible and I can work with it, especially with this army. The Grey Knights, you only have a certain amount of units because they're so expensive in points that they have to work together to pull the victory. So deep striking, it's too much of a gamble. Next on the list is the rule called True Grit. This is an awesome rule. What it does is you always get an extra attack dice in close combat, but you don't get the charging bonus. So say you had like 2 attacks on base, you would get 3 in close combat. Even on the second round of combat, you would get 3 attacks. And then you get 3 attacks on the third round of combat. Or say you get assaulted yourself, you still get 3 attacks. 2 on base, 1 for True Grit, but you never get the charging bonus itself. There is a downside to this rule though. Only units in power armor get True Grit. That means your Terminators and your HQs, they don't get it at all. The Aegis. That's the next one. It's pretty much just a free psychic hood. What a psychic hood is say the opponent was going to use a psychic ability on you. You roll a d6 and add your leadership value. They roll a d6 and add their leadership value. If yours is equal to or greater than theirs, the psychic ability is cancelled before it even goes off. This rule applies only to your Grey Knight units. That means your opponent has to target a Grey Knight unit. If you're solid Grey Knights, it shouldn't be a big deal. But if you mix your armies, if they attack one of your other units that aren't Grey Knights, you can't step in and cancel out that ability. Okay, this is one of my favorite rules that the Grey Knights have, hence my channel name, the Shrouding. The Shrouding is like a dumbed down version of Knight Fighting rules. What it does is when an opponent decides to shoot at one of your Grey Knight units, they have to roll 3d6 and times that by 3. That gives you a range between 9 and 54 inches. This is good because anytime your opponent has to roll dice to even hit your units, that's a good thing for you. That's less dice you have to roll. The less dice you have to roll, the less chance you have to die. Dying is bad, we all know that. Now, some people say that the Shrouding is a useless rule. Useless? They have to roll dice to even see you, no matter what the conditions are. I think that's pretty good. The last special rule that the Grey Knights have is called Rites of Exorcism. This rule is pretty much useless because demon instability is no longer existent to my knowledge. But what it does do is when a demon decides to charge you, they have to roll difficult terrain. It's not really difficult terrain, but they have to roll the dice as if it were because you have this special aura or sense or whatever it is. Anyway, it's really cool. I've never had to use it because the locals here, they don't play demons. I don't know why. They need to though, because then I could put my name to use. Well, that sums up the special rules for the Grey Knights. In the next video, I'm going to do the Grey Knight Armory, so take a look at that.